primarily I'd say this is my favorite project because it's one of those that I had the random idea that maybe SSG could do Minecraft. And it was one of those like wacky ideas that our management just supported me in and let me figure it out. And it turned out to be incredible.
I've had the pleasure of talking to Brendan so far for a little bit. We chatted and all that fun stuff.
It was a private conversation though. It wasn't
Semi-private, because you can see us talking and all that stuff. And then I messed up on the audio. Anyways, this is Brendan. I always like to kind of introduce our guests and kind of let them talk a little bit about how they got into esports, what has been like their pathway and stuff like that. And Brendan has gotten a very unique pathway compared to most individuals that kind of have graduated from a university, kind of took a junior role at position at a company and kind of evolved from there. And I think he's a great example of someone that kind of has been shown, like, entered in the space a little bit earlier than most individuals and kind of has progressed within the community and has achieved a lot, especially with Spacestation coming up to 2 years, a little bit over 2 years, right? A little bit over two.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to get that right. So he's going to talk a little bit about, who he is, what he's done, and how he's gotten there, and we'll kind of go from there.
Sweet. Well, I'm Brendan. I'm Brendan Valentine. I'm the community team lead at Spacestation Gaming I've been there just over 2 years now. Funny enough, I didn't mention this, but a lot of people don't know that when I started at Space Station, it wasn't actually for esports. It wasn't even for Space Station Gaming. Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yes, which is weird because all my experience that was relevant was like gaming related. But not to go on a whole tangent and just derail us here, but they actually brought me on because they invested in a toothbrush company and they wanted to hire people because they were going to be running like the social media and the influencer marketing. So they brought on me and this other guy, and we were responsible for like planning out, shooting, editing, like the whole Instagram grid. We came up with this crazy concept where every picture was edited to like interlock with each other, so the grid looked like it was one continuous like collage. It was this whole crazy project.
That's crazy.
And, yeah, we ended up having kind of just a difference in views at some point. We kind of ended up just parting ways with that company, and that's when I got transitioned to Space Station Gaming, funny enough. So that's a weird side story.
No, that's so unique. I've never heard this. A toothbrush company. Can you disclose which toothbrush company it was?
They're called Bruche. It's not like a huge one. They did a campaign with Kevin Hart over Christmas that did pretty well. I still use the toothbrush. I think it's fantastic. But yeah, that's how I ended up there. But yeah, I spent the past 2 years, finishing my college degree and working at Space Station, and I'm really glad that I got to do it during my undergrad because I feel like a lot of the learning I did in my degree for strategic communication, it became a lot more applicable because I had a job that I could apply it to at that very moment, where it's like, cool, we're learning about campaign briefs and press releases and all these other things, and I'm like, sweet, I can use this at work tomorrow. That's awesome. Fuck yeah.
That's insane.
And it was a really neat experience that way. But I think I was fortunate to get there and have that opportunity in college because I started hustling at like 17 years old to try and work in esports. Like at 17, my dumbass applied to the director of content position at Splice, thinking I even had a chance. But like I was like that serious at 17 years old. I was like, we're going for it. I was never gonna get that job, but I was like, I was gunning for whatever I could.
Dude, I love that confidence that you're
it started young.
Yeah, 17, let's do it.
Straight up,
see what I can do. Hey, I've always been, I think it was like one of my high school teachers, strangely enough, math, taught me the answer is math, but he always had like great life lessons. One of them was the answer is always no unless you ask. And I've been in a few situations where I'm like, they're probably going to say no. And then I ask, and they're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Like, we had a project recently.
Seriously?
For a client, and I was like, I don't know, this is a little bit over their budget. I don't know if they're going to say yes. And then they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, let's do it. And I'm like, let's go! But, yeah, so you said you got really started in 18. You talked a little bit about your high school experience and how you made that transition with a buddy of yours to start up a sniping kind of content team. Could you go into that a little bit, and then
the
other stuff?
I never thought my awful Call of Duty videos that got like 500 views would lead me to esports, but it did, just because I had that mutual friend who decided, like, this community sucks, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna jump to esports and try it there. And I just kind of went along with it because I was a bored high schooler. What else do you do in your free time? You know what I mean? Make a gaming team. Who cares, right? So,
dude, I made gaming YouTube videos too in high school.
Exactly, we've all done it.
Yeah, and hey, you know what? In the long run, it taught you basic editing skills that have paid off dividends.
Yeah. Well, and that was another neat aspect of it, is like content creation guided a lot of what I did, where at that first org, I worked on content. At the next little slightly more legitimate org where we went to MLG Anaheim and we had the team house, I was working on their content there and running their content strategy is what I did. So it always like that passion for content creation translated over from less of a creating it side to more of like, what YouTube videos do we need to put out? What's the marketing we need to do for this event? I don't know when it started, but I think my brain started to really enjoy the hows, the whys, and the whats of content and why it works and why it's effective or why it isn't effective. And that's kind of what led me down this thread of like running content strategy for these little teams, where eventually I found myself at Elevate, which is a relatively well-known tier 2 org that's been in COD and stuff. I ended up with them after that MLG Anaheim event, where I spent about a year and a half working very heavily on their content strategy and working with the different teams. And granted, I was still pretty much I got G Fuel Tubs as payment. It wasn't crazy serious, but for me, it was like, this is a brand that's doing okay, and it's a chance for me to get practice and work on different projects. Like, if we pick up a new sponsor, it was my job to like, okay, what post do we want to do? What's the messaging? Like, it was good, relevant experience that I think was more useful than I knew at the time. Because even if it's working on a small project, it's building those foundational skills that you'll use a lot later on in life, where, now as a community manager, I'm putting together marketing plans for whole events and stuff. So having that way of thinking was something that I guess trained in me early. So after I worked with Elevate for a bit, I ended up going, that was my first paid gig came after that, where I worked with a company called Render GG. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Didn't I've heard they didn't they produce like content like similar to like the Score now does? It was like more esports gaming documentaries, or am I
No.
confusing them with
So
something else?
what these guys do, it's interesting. It's like an editing / content management firm that works with like some of the biggest names in gaming. We're talking like 35 million monthly views across their clients. Like, I'll pull up their client page right now. FaZe Scissors, Lachlan, Sniper Wolf, Dr. Disrespect, Nick A30, Rug, Armoranth, like all Bjergsen, like all the names. All the names. So I got brought on to manage Ghost Gaming's account at that time. Ghost Gaming had hired them to run their YouTube channel, and it was my job with this UK-based content firm that was terrible for my schedule. I was doing college, working 25 hours a week at the Apple Store, living with my girlfriend at the time, and then doing all of this on like literally on my breaks during Apple, like 10-minute lunch break. I had to log on, like double check the video, give feedback. Like it was, I had zero free time, but it was worth it. I chose to make that sacrifice because I entered college with the idea of, I'm going to leave with a career. I'm not going to leave with a degree and then figure it out. That's a weird thing that I've always had. But when I started college, it's like, when I leave, I want to have a fucking career lined up, and I want to be just hitting the ground running. Because what else are you going to do for 4 years? 4 years is so much time. And I did it in 2. It's totally doable. And like, a lot of people don't want to sacrifice the road trips or the parties or whatever in college. Fair enough. Like, you don't have to. But I did, because I didn't give a shit about those things. I spent a lot of my time working instead. And, that's how I chose to spend my time. But basically, I worked with Render for a while on Ghost Gaming's YouTube content. Eventually that account grew a little bigger than what I could handle at that time, because again, I had a job and college and a girlfriend, and then this was in all the time I had left. So then I ended up working with Afroboo, who was on 100 Thieves' League of Legends team at that time. And I managed his channel for, I want to say, just shy of a year, pretty much after that, where I just worked with editors and designers, made sure the videos met what they should. There's no errors, little stuff like, you have a pop-up but the sound effect's half a second late. Like, it really helped me train that like Hawkeye video editor view of like, this transition has a blank frame here, like you need to get rid of that. Just minuscule stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because like, as you've seen, like all my experience is content related, and I ended up being a community manager where I don't have that much to do with content, which is really interesting and what I like to talk about sometimes, because you got to be ready for the plan to change. You know what I mean? I spent all this time getting really good as a content manager, content strategist, and then fuck it, I'm a community manager now, I guess. Why not? So yeah, after Render, that's when I got picked up with Spacestation. I knew they were in Utah, so I'd like hit them up previously and just been like, just to be a friend, like, hey, it's cool that, you guys are a team here. I work with Elevate at that time, or with Render GG. I was like, let's meet up. So I went to their office once. So like, we kind of knew each other before I worked there. Just like Twitter mutual, like met them at the office type stuff. So when I saw them post around like, oh, we're looking to hire people, I instantly just slid my application, because why not? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you? And that's when I got brought on for that toothbrush project. And then funny enough, after that, when I got brought on the space station, they put me in the partnerships position, which is something I had never done. But it was a really small team back then. I'm talking like Shonduras, his guy Alex, who helped run things, like 3 content guys, and then like 1 or 2 other people, including me. It was like less than 10 people. We were scrappy, super small team, grinding really hard. So I got put in partnerships just because I had been in the space for a minute and just happened to know a lot of people. Like, oh, I know this guy from Asus, I know this guy here, whatever. So they figured, maybe this guy can help with partnerships. They didn't have anyone who'd really rocked this since. I did terrible. I learned a lot, did terrible, didn't land anything, huge flop. Like I spent like 5 months talking to a peripheral company only for them to just be like, yeah, peace at the end. Like it was, I'm not gonna name drop and shit on anyone because we're on good terms still. There's no animosity, but
Yeah.
it was a rough run. But again, it didn't go well, but you know what? I learned how to put together pitch decks. I learned how to work on like what's the valuation on a certain level of sponsorship and what do you need to give back in terms of deliverables and commitment. Like I had never thought about that stuff before, but they just threw me to the wolves kind of, and they're like, here you go. Like we'll work with you. Let's figure it out. And I had to basically learn that whole sector of a job. And after a while, when we all could just admit it wasn't going well, because I'm not a partnerships person, I was a sophomore in college who'd never done it before. They're like, let's find something else that works for you rather than just like letting you go. So that's kind of where we came up with community manager. And I did community management for about 5 months on my own. Sorry, this is like a super long-winded answer.
Dude, no, I love it.
Yeah. And then, yeah, in the past 6 months, we've hired 2 more community people, and now we're a bit of a team, and we're doing far more than I ever thought we would.
Dude, that's such an awesome journey. You definitely got like experience
Weird.
in everything. I've always told people, I get always a few messages, or if I'm speaking on college panels, they're like, how do you know what you want to do in like esports gaming or any career? And I've told people, listen, you got to find out what you don't like to do, except that you're going to have to do it in some capacity. And then by just doing a bunch of things, you'll find out what you really like and what you're really passionate about. And then you'll be able to really enjoy that. And I feel like some people also forget that you can't do everything. Well, most individuals can't do like everything that they love every single minute of the day. You have to have these like kind of more minute grunt work stuff or annoying painstaking things to make those really enjoyable moments enjoyable.
Exactly.
And I like it how you brought up that, you know, you accepted that, you know, you weren't good for partnerships, and sometimes it's just that. And it's incredible when a company like Spacestation, who I've praised and I've known Unit for almost now 4 years, like they were just like, hey, let's just, you know, we like you, you know, you tried really hard, let's see where you can fit in. And now you've been thriving, you've brought on teams.
Seriously.
And that shows a lot of, from both sides, that you guys, you know, are a good fit. And I feel like companies are so quick to just be like, all right, next person, you know.
Yeah, it's easy to do that. I think one thing I've always admired about Space Station, and you know, I'll say honestly, sometimes almost to like our own detriment. Like they work very hard to build a family environment and make it very close knit. And like sometimes it makes like workplace culture tough when it has to be like boss employee type conversations or whatever. But they really from the beginning built it from a family. You know, Tall Chicken, Parker, Gil, our 3 content guys at the time, were all people Sean knew in high school. It's just people he grew up with. Like he didn't go out and search Twitter for these magical esports employees who knew stuff. He had Unit who knew the space, and then a bunch of people who had pretty much never worked in esports before. And it was really the familial bond and the camaraderie that drove the company forward, almost more so than like this crazy like esports patch. Like everyone loves it, obviously. We adore this industry, but it wasn't like what they had done before. It was just they all loved what they did. They loved working together, so they kind of kept doing it. Obviously it's harder to maintain that feeling now that we have, you know, we have employees in the Netherlands, all over the US, stuff like that, but they still work really hard too. And that's something I've always loved about Space Station is like, if something's not working, they'll always try to find that solution first or find a way to make it work with you before they would ever consider letting you go. I mean, obviously, if you're like a terrible employee, that's a different conversation. But as long as you're an honest person and you work hard, like they will work with you to make it work. I was a college student who didn't know what the hell I was doing, and now I've, you know, 2 years down the road, it feels like family. It's crazy.
That's so great. And the fact that they're, you know, supporting you as you're going for your NBA too, and they understand how you're going to balance that time, that just shows dedication of that company. You always like to hear that, because you always hear, I feel like everyone's so quick to push the like denial esports kind of thing, which I always I'm like, man, I'm part of two like big not scandals, but just big kind of red flags in the industry. One was kind of with Infinite, where a bunch of
Yeah,
people got let go, and then
yeah,
the first wave of
I
denial,
remember
not
all of
paying
that. Yeah.
staff, and I'm like, I remember a bunch of players are coming to me and they're like, "Hey, I haven't been paid for like a month and a half," and I'm like, "Ask Robbie,"
Mm.
and then they're like, he's like, "Oh, I paid them." I'm like, "Okay." He says he pays you, and then they're like, "No, they haven't." I'm like, "Well, can you do the sponsor deliverable?" And they're like, "I'm not paying. I'm not gonna do it until you pay me." I'm like,
Oh
"Go
my
back to
goodness.
Robbie," and he's like, "Well, make them do." I'm like, "What am I supposed to do?" You know?
You're just the middleman.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, I don't want to say something to Robbie to get him upset. So
Exactly.
I had both of these things, and I was like, so it can be a little bit
Hmm.
tricky, especially as someone when you're in a young position and you're managing a bunch of things on top of it. The stress can get
Totally.
up to you. Um, I'd love to kind of get a little bit of insight on what you do as a community manager at Space Station,
Yeah.
because most people I feel like are so quick to say like, "Oh, he just sits in Discord all day and just monitors the chat." I feel like it's a very deceptive role, and it's a very important role that often goes very
It
overlooked
is.
within brands in general and communities.
Yeah, I would say that interestingly enough, what my job is has evolved a lot in the time that I've done it, especially going from like one community manager to a team of three people. Like that
Mhm.
alone brings a lot of change. But I'd say the biggest thing is it started out as very what I would call kind of like cookie cutter bread and butter type community manager. It's like, okay, let's try to build on these key platforms. Like I really wanted to work on Discord. It's like, how can we leverage our platforms to engage our audience a bit more rather than just posting? I think there's a big difference between just posting stuff and actually engaging with your audience. Those two aren't the same thing, and not everybody gets that. So for me, it was kind of solving that issue for a while. And then eventually we wanted to bring on, he's a great guy named Jesper, who we brought on to help us kind of really just rock like Discord and Reddit as best as we can, just because those are really important platforms in gaming and esports. And he actually ended up having a lot of event experience. And starting there, we kind of transitioned a lot to a very event driven community team where, for the past 5 6 months, we've done about one event every month. And then starting here soon, we're going to have like one every 2 weeks almost. Like it's a lot of events that we
Jeez.
are putting together, from format to logistics to participants, hiring talent, putting together all the marketing with our content team, all that stuff. So right now my job is a lot of events, and it's a lot of it sounds weird putting it this way, but it's a lot of relaying of information. You know what I mean? Talking to my other community manager, and she said, okay, these people are good to go on the tournament, blah blah blah, we just need to get these assets. Okay, cool. Talk to our content guy about the assets that need done. Cool. Check the budget with my manager and make sure that everything lines up, all that stuff. So it's a lot of like being a relay for information and just making sure that things are organized and happening on time. I've taken more of a man, like a people management role than a community management role almost lately, where it's almost a lot of project management. You know what I mean? It's looking, okay, we have this event 2 months out. We need to start, figuring out the format here. We need to get the participants lined up, and then we need to plan out the marketing. We need all this stuff. Like I'm usually in the midst of planning 1 to 2 to 3 events at any given time, all the time. Like it's just a constant flow. But on top of that, we put a big focus on making sure that we build like a meaningful relationship with our community. I feel like community engagement is more than a lot of people view it as boosting engagement literally like on social platforms. Like community managers work on
Yeah.
that, like get the Twitter engagement rate up. But for us, I think, and I've always been really big on this, is it should be more personal in my opinion. Like I hang out on Discord as much as I can because I like to. I don't have to. It's not part of my job description to chat with these people, but building those relationships is huge. Just the other day we had someone in our Discord say that they're going to therapy for the first time because the advice and the care that we have as a community in that Discord gave him. And like that's so goddamn rewarding. You know what I mean? That as someone who's in this position, I know that a lot of us turn to gaming and these online communities because we might not have that many friends IRL. We might not be the most popular. That's why I did it. I was bullied and didn't have a lot of friends, so I played video games. So, it's almost adding that personal touch of like letting our community know the people behind the brand rather than letting them feel like they know the brand itself. Because I think having those meaningful relationships with the people who actually do the work and make these things happen, it makes them feel a lot more connected to what you do. They're more likely to come chat in your server every day because they feel like there's a real relationship there. And I think that's been such a huge pillar of what we do, where, in our Discord, we just launched the it's actually a battle pass for the Discord that we've been doing the past 3 months.
That's so
And
cool.
it's a really simple kind of meme idea, but it's worked well, where basically we just have a bot that tracks time spent in VC and messages and stuff like that, and you basically level up in the different tiers and you win cooler and cooler stuff like stickers or a hoodie, or you can add an emote to the server, all kinds of different stuff like this. And we found a really nice way to incentivize people just to have conversations. And we've seen so many more friendships and watch parties, and we're running weekly tournaments. It's just giving people stuff to engage with and have fun with, and give them a social space, for lack of a better word. I feel like that's a huge part of community management, especially with Discord being the titan of communication that it is in gaming. Is just giving people a place where they feel like they truly have a community. I feel like it's oversimplifying it, but I feel like that should be a goal of every community manager, is making sure that the people in their space feel like they're a part of something, rather than just a fan. I feel like the word fan isn't good enough in a weird way.
Yeah, I think a lot of brands and a lot of individuals that don't have the experience of brand building or understand how to build a community or what a community's purpose is. A lot of brands say, I want to build a community. You have some CMO, some guy that was like a director of somewhere coming into the space, and he's like, all right, I need it. I want engagement. I want to see, the Twitter percentage to go up, our Instagram engagement to go up, and at what value does that bring if someone likes or engages with a piece of content if they're not invested in the brand in the long haul? And you hear this from angel investors, from people that are trying to get their company off a specific product. You can have a profitable company, you can have a profitable brand, you can have a thriving brand with 100 people, and you don't need 10,000, you don't need 1 million. It's all about scaling it and making sure that those individuals are actually invested in you. And I feel like a lot of teams try to take the shortcut, especially with the hyper meme, hyper trendy kind of relationships that they try to post on Twitter, that it kind of almost like disconnects them more from the fans rather than brings them in. And I've always been a fan of how Spacestation as a brand treats itself more as it acts like a person, or like as an individual, is a way more humanistic than
there's a personality to it.
Yeah, and it's top to bottom, and I feel like that's where the difference is between Spacestation and someone like Cloud9. Don't get me wrong, I respect Cloud9, what they've done and all that stuff. They have a specific brand voice, but it's not reflective all the way down through their Instagram, through their Reddit, through even their Discord, right?
That's true.
But Spacestation does that. You look at your Instagram, and then you look at your Discord, and then you look at your Twitter, and it's very consistent in terms of, and even your events, how you guys are talking about it.
That's true.
I always say Spacestation is a little bit of tall chicken editing, if like that spice, or I don't know, it's the best flavor.
No, we literally have a term for that internally. We just call it like the Spacestation sauce, like the special sauce.
Yeah.
It's this weird, indescribable, like memey, just goofy quality that we like to have to our stuff. Like, I think a good example of this is our Mission 2 line, the merch that just came out pretty recently. Amazing garments. Raven.gg is an incredible company. And we realized that after it all came out, and we don't like to hugely focus on it, but we basically had our little triangle logo and then SSG, and we realized it kind of looked like it said ASG. And we just leaned into the meme. Like it was all over Twitter for a day or two, where it's like we have our triangle logo and SSG, and it just kind of looks like the word ass. and then instead of getting like upset and freaking out and recalling the line or anything, we're just like, it's kind of funny. Like, we're not gonna lean into it crazy and like make a giant joke about it, but like we'll meme with the community and just have fun with it. And I think that's a good way to characterize kind of the vibe that we have, where it's like, we care about what we do. We try to always make sure it's of high quality and of meaning to our community, but I don't think we ever take ourselves too seriously. I almost have to remind myself sometimes to take it less seriously.
And I think that's the great advantage that your brand, on top of the competitive success that you guys have had, is where you've really defined yourself in this space. While most teams choose to go we're edgy street clothes, trying to be cool, like FaZe Clan, like Team Liquid, try to really be like super professional. Everyone, like, the term is zigging. But you guys are like, let's zag. Let's completely take it a different direction. And if people come, people come. And now I'm interviewing people for positions at AOE, or talking to individuals or students. And like the number two, I always hear people say G2, like Cloud9 does great social. And then people are like, but Space Station's really funny. And I'm like, I'm like, whoa, people are noticing. People can
Yeah,
tell where, and you suddenly rise above all these tier 3, tier 2 esports organizations. Sure, they have like one big player or they're very successful in a game,
totally.
and but at the end of the day, Space Station stands out so much, and it's that Zag factor. I hate to be that guy, but that's like my marketing brain is. If everyone's
Makes
going one
sense.
direction and Space Station's going the different, and they're standing out, then they're winning. They're doing what you
Yeah,
guys want to achieve, and I just love to see that. I think that's so needed in the community, and a lot of people are just so quick to the copy paste button. Man,
yeah.
it's very frustrating. As a we pride ourselves as like, oh, we're this new digital version of community building, sports, entertainment. But then as soon as like we're like, I don't know, we're so quick to just copy traditional sports. Everyone's like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna copy what the NBA is doing on Twitter or Instagram because that's what they're doing.
exactly.
And then I see what you guys are doing, and you guys are setting your own trend and stuff like that. I was such a big fan of the way you guys handled reels, in my opinion, compared to the
Yeah.
rest of the teams. Other teams are like, all right, we're gonna take this Fortnite clip, we're gonna add some dubstep music, and we're gonna shoot out. And you guys are like, no, no,
Cookie
no,
cutter.
no. The Rocket League reels content was some of my favorite things to see on Instagram, and
Our
I'm not big
TikToks
on
have
it.
been hilarious too.
Yeah.
Like our editor, he goes by Bobo. He's
Uh-huh.
incredibly talented. I really got to credit like Sean more than anyone. Sean Duras. He
Mhm.
like champions that attitude of just like doing it differently, not for the sake of being different, but for the sake of just doing something neat and fun and that isn't what everyone else is
Mhm.
doing. Like it's not because we just we don't want to be like them. It's just this is cool. Why not do this? I think a good way to exemplify this, or that's not the right word, but to explain kind of how that works is like right now all these orgs are leaning super hard into like Valorant and stuff like that, right? These big like hype games that are really popular. Nothing wrong with that. It's not a diss.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think one thing I love about Space Station is we lean into and serve communities that might not be the biggest, but we feel like are really important. Like we love Smash is a good example. Smash Ultimate. We have two players. We did an event not too long ago, and I think we just announced our next one. Um, and Smash isn't the biggest game in the world, right? But one thing we realized is that of our events that we've run, I kind of looked at our Twitch analytics for the past, quarter or so basically. Our one Smash event carried half of the watch minutes on our Twitch channel. Of all the other stuff we did, from RLCS to, big all that, Smash by far had the most watch minutes. And it's because that's a community that doesn't get served very much. It's a community that right now during COVID is struggling. They're not getting their lands. Nintendo doesn't really support it. They're kind of in a void. So I love that we as an org are like, cool, let's step in and put some awesome events on for the Smash community. And I love that that attitude exists here because it's not like, oh, that game's not trending the most on Twitter, so we're gonna do this. It's really about owning communities and showing up and doing it right and providing them with stuff that matters and enabling those communities to do what they do. A lot of Smash players don't have many 5K tournaments that are just showing up in the middle of COVID. It's not happening. But here we are stepping up and doing it because we want to support that community. And I love that. Rocket League and Rainbow Six by far are our biggest games, most valuable.
Mhm.
And we invest very heavily in those as well. But I really like to shout out the fact that we make the effort and the time to support these communities. They're still very valuable, but maybe not the most popular because it matters. And that comes back to that whole like personal touch thing with community management is like building those important relationships. Like Smash is a great community. We love Smash Brothers. Why not help them, give them opportunities to compete and give them some fun content to watch?
Yeah, you literally hit the nail on the head. I think that's the right analogy. I always butcher those analogies because being
Dude, me
Eastern
too.
European is hard. But, you know, a lot of teams or a lot of brands are so quick to jump onto the like Valorant, League of Legends,
Yeah.
Overwatch, like how can we get involved there? And they don't realize that at a fraction of the cost, you can really get yourself authentically in the front of
Hmm.
Smash, Smite, and become a household name. Sure, you don't
Totally.
have that cool edge factor that some brands have, but is that really important when everyone else is trying to
Exactly.
do that? And it's like carve your own path instead of trying to copy everyone. I think is like the big thing. And I like how you brought out events is one of those really underrated ways of engaging the community. Everyone's just like, well, community engagement is just getting people to join the Discord. I'm like, no, no, no. That's
There's
step
more to
one.
it.
It's getting them
Yeah.
involved, and it's like giving them a reason to stay. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
is the trick where people kind of get scared to like
That's
invest into
true.
new things or to try new things. It's like everyone's like, okay, how many new people joined the Discord? How many new people followed our account? How many new people are watching this video, right? But it's like how many
Mm-hmm.
people are staying and how many people care is
Exactly.
as important, if not more important, over the long run. I feel like
Yeah.
that's how soccer in Europe has overall like always been, super big debt, lots of lost venues, but now where because merchandise is super accessible, people have fan groups, loyalties, and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you really see like a lot of soccer clubs like Bier, Muhen really thrive and they're
That's
profitable.
true.
So sorry, everyone that doesn't understand soccer, but that's one of
No,
those
I
things.
kind of get it. I'm there.
Yeah, and community just plays a big role, like that atmosphere that you bring. And I really liked how you touched upon it, that it's like Smash doesn't get a lot of,
It
attention and
doesn't. Yeah.
space, especially now because of COVID. The LAN events are gone, the all the, photography, video, hype clips,
Mm-hmm.
it's not there. It's really hard to emulate that. So it's like, let's take advantage of that. Same thing with Smite. I think you guys have done a phenomenal
Yeah.
job engaging the Smite community, who's often forgotten, literally. And they're still
Big time.
passionate, like easily, like I can't speak for the number of people that play it, but there's a big community of people that care about it and follow it. And there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing more authentic than cementing yourself in the community like that, rather than just paying a bunch of money to get Tim the Tatman to be in your event, Warzone
Yeah.
event. And
Dude, everyone does influencer Warzone events. Please do anything else. I'm so tired of influencer Warzone events.
yeah, it's just, and that's what I mean. A lot of people just choose the safe play
Yeah.
and just copy what everyone else is doing instead of trying their own. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm looking for more
No, there's
innovation.
nothing wrong with it. I think it's just about how you want to run your business. And I think they're doing a lot of great things. I think it's really respectable that during COVID, when a time like businesses are failing, orgs are falling apart, SSG chooses to support a smaller community and lift them up. I think that's
Mhm.
just a huge comment on that. And I mean, on the point of like, doing stuff that's different, not that we're the first org to do this, but we're committing pretty heavily to Minecraft, which is something we haven't seen in esports very much. We've seen XSET pick up creators, we've seen some people do like events here and there, but nobody's done some shit like that Minecraft space race that we put on.
I know,
I
I
hate
saw
to like
that.
brag about that, but
No,
like
please. I was gonna ask actually about that and what has been your kind of your favorite project so far at Space Station
that's my
recently.
favorite project. That's what I was going to talk about.
So for people that haven't seen it, can you kind of give like a TLDR and kind of like walk
Yeah.
through all that? I'd love to hear that too as well.
So primarily I'd say this is my favorite project because it's one of those that I had the random idea that maybe SSG could do Minecraft. And it was one of those like wacky ideas that our management just supported me in and let me figure it out. And it turned out to be incredible. So, long story short, I've been friends with a Minecraft streamer by the name of Kratzy. His name's Dave. Oddly enough, I met him at that 2017 MLG Anaheim event, the first event I went to. Now
Yeah.
he signed to SSG. Crazy small world full circle thing.
Yeah.
But I've known him for a while and we were just chatting and he was like talking to me about SSG. He's like, dude, orgs should get more into Minecraft. And I was like, yeah, what the fuck? Like they totally should. It's been like the most viewed game on YouTube for like the past decade. It has an absurdly huge play. High pixels alone, that server on my single server on Minecraft, their concurrent player count outdoes some of the biggest games out there. And it's inside of a different game. Like
Yeah,
it's insane.
it's a sub
Yeah,
category of a
by a third party
game.
company. It's absurd the amount of pull
Yeah.
Minecraft has. So I was like, yeah, we should. So we started out by signing Dave as a creator to Space Station because Minecraft creators in general are a good investment. He won the first Minecraft championship. I don't know if you know much about that whole. It's like the biggest Minecraft event there is. He won one of those, and that's what kind of catapulted his career. But we signed him, and then it was kind of my task to work with him to figure out what the hell we were even going to do in Minecraft. My manager was like, yeah, sure, we could try it. Go figure it out. And it was just up to us to think of something. So we had conversations with tons of different people and we bounced around with a bunch of ideas and we ended up with the weird idea of a parkour speedrunning challenge. I know, because Minecraft parkour is a big thing. Minecraft speedrunning is also a big thing. So we're like, fuck it, smoosh them together and make this cool event. So we ended up hiring these two incredible builders who they'd done like Wipeout, the TV show, but in Minecraft with like the moving parts and everything. And it was in a YouTube video. So we're like, these guys are cool. They might be able to do something. We were the first people to ever hire them to build anything in Minecraft. Nobody's paid them before. They've always done it. They're two 17-year-old kids from the Netherlands. So I was really stoked that we got to enable these kids to do a big project. So we brought them on and we tasked them with, build some crazy parkour speed running map that's like space themed and has space station branding elements somewhere. And that's like all the guidance we gave them. That was it. And they just fucking ran with it. I don't know if you saw the map, but like it was this massive space with like multiple spaceships, rotating asteroids, just like insane challenges. And it took them like 2 months. These kids are legends.
I think I saw
So
some images from it. I think it was from
yeah,
I think it's from your guys' Twitter or where you guys
probably.
showcase them. I was blown away. For a second, I thought it was like what do you call it? Like an Unreal Engine render, like Minecraft render. It was that like
It was
what?
good. They did an amazing job.
Yeah, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, that impression alone that you got from like, wait, this event is happening and this is a thing and how much effort,
Yeah.
that already like sets a precedent that a lot of people, instead of like, a linear, map with a bunch of like jumps and stuff like that, like immediately like
Yeah.
you get that hook that a lot of people kind of miss or with some ideas.
Totally.
But yeah.
So yeah, these guys built this amazing map. It was insane. I suck at it. And our hope was basically we put up 5 grand in prizing and this custom printed, 3D printed Minecraft sword. And we painted with SSG colors and we actually built a model of that trophy in the game at the end of the course. So cool. It worked out really well. But this is my favorite event. One, because it was a cool dream that my team let me run with and it ended up really good. Two, because it's a good example of how community management as a job can be very unique. I spent a lot of this time helping dudes figure out a Minecraft map and what challenges to build. And another big part of this was we really wanted to make a great first impression on the Minecraft community. When we brought this out, we wanted to make it clear that we were here to do fun, cool stuff that the community can enjoy rather than we're going to put on this event just because it's going to get a bunch of viewership and some sponsors paying us money. It's not a cash grab. So a big part of that was I spent almost most of my time on that project working with our content guy planning the marketing plan for this, what the teasers were going to be. We filmed different interviews and cut it all together. Like it's probably the most complex and comprehensive like plan for an event I've put together, and it was the most fun that I've gotten to have because we put out like 3 teasers. We had pieces during the event about how to beat certain challenges, like all these unique little content pieces that showed different parts of it and I think got people really excited about something unique. Like I think we dropped a few very short snippet videos of just ominous like spaceship shot or like meteors, and people are like, "What the fuck? What are you making? Why is this thing on my Twitter timeline?" So it's a cool event because I got to flex my community manager muscles in a lot of different ways. Where it was putting together a marketing plan, it was working with the talent, and then it was trying to get influencers involved so they would play it. Dude, Captain Sparkles made a video about our course. Like that's like the coolest thing to me in my career thus far ever is I made this insane Minecraft map and fucking Captain Sparkles played it and made a whole video like that. Wow.
You can't
Wow.
pay. I talked about Tony about authentic engagement, authentic
Mm-hmm.
like engagements within the
Earned
community.
marketing is huge.
You cannot put a value of money how valuable that kind of engagement is.
Mm-mm.
It's insane. And hey, all the credit to you and the team for putting something like this together and your overall brand allowing you to do that. There's so many individuals
Seriously.
that would have been like, this is a stupid idea. No one wants to hear this. No one
Yeah.
does Minecraft and esports.
Well, because we didn't profit off that event. We didn't make any money back. It was purely like an expense to do a cool thing. And they saw the value and they let us do it. Like the cost of what it was to put on that event is nowhere near what it would cost to buy a 30-minute video from Captain Sparkles. Just that one activation from him alone would probably be like ridiculously expensive. Not obscenely expensive, but he's a huge creator. Like it'll be pricey. That alone, that one video alone was like, yeah, that was worth it. And we made a splash in the Minecraft community. People, I think, got the right impression from us that we were there to do cool stuff, and we're going to continue to do cool stuff. There's something coming that I can't talk about, but it's
I know.
so cool.
I feel
And that's just our goal is just keep doing awesome stuff for the Minecraft community and showing that the esports community and the Minecraft community can work together. Because how many people in esports love Minecraft, right? Like tons
So
of
many,
us. We've
so
all played
many.
the game. And it's this massive game with this huge following. How the fuck have we not put that together yet? Like,
Because people don't want to take
100 Thieves,
risks.
like
100
100 Thieves
Thieves
will get
and
skins in Rogue Company, but they won't go hard on Minecraft. Like, it just doesn't make sense because the value's so huge. It's massive. So we are intent to continue growing in Minecraft. We are intent to do more events, to work with awesome creators, and just bring more Minecraft stuff to the esports world and mesh those two together. Because I feel like there's so much overlap that hasn't been capitalized on. And the Minecraft community in particular, all of their big events, Minecraft Championship, everything, it's all been grassroots. It's all been community driven. Everything besides like Twitch rivals was community members stepping up to build something because they were passionate. And I think that's wonderful. But we can also start to step in as a legitimate brand, as an organization with sponsor connections and influencer connections and budget, and actually do some really cool official supported stuff for this community that gives them a bit more of a concrete foundation of events and content and stuff to engage with that doesn't require community members spending their own money to put stuff on. I feel like that's a cool opportunity for a brand to, like I said, same thing with Smash, support a community that doesn't really get the support they deserve. I feel like, I mean, Minecraft does, but not in this way, you know?
Yeah, I see so many, you know, individuals on LinkedIn bragging about, we ran this activation with so and so influencer and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and then they'll on their company page they'll be like, you know, we authentically place you in the community and position you in the gaming market, and I'm like, okay, buddy, listen, anyone can pay Tim the Tatman 10 grand to say something about their game.
Seriously.
Not everyone can get a whole community engaged for that amount or amount around there that has a longer impact rather than a 25-minute what is like an hour of Tim playing a silly game. I'm not saying that's not valuable in the short terms of things and stuff like that, because that great brand exposure, but it's like, how do you really authentically place yourself? And I think what you just described is true authenticity in gaming and esports, and that's where that beauty of brands that really leverage, hey, we can, there's not, esports is a subsection of gaming, but we can also go out of it, like we can really thrive out of it. And I feel like what you showed is taking a little bit of risk, taking a little bit of initiative and stepping forward, and it paid massive dividends in the long run for you. And trust me, it's made an incredible impact on around everyone in the Minecraft community, and more people care about your brand and more people respect your brand. And if they're talking positively about your brand, if guys like Captain Sparkles are talking about positively about your brand and what you've done, trust me, that is way more valuable than a 15-second cut in front of Captain Sparkles video where he's like, hey, go check out, you know, this product, you know, use Captain Sparkles for 10% off. Like, no, that's not value, or that's not authentic. That what you guys have done is true authenticity, and I hope to see more individuals really take that risk of getting involved in that way and pushing the barrier of what can be done. I know COVID's really difficult and makes a lot of situations difficult for people. Companies are a little bit more protective of their budgets, but of course, I love to hear that from you guys, that you guys are just continuously pushing that. And big kudos to you for stepping up and saying, hey, let's see it. Let's hear it out. Let's try to do it. So not a lot of people will take that risk.
That's true.
So cool. Brendan, I know a big part of the last year and a half has been balancing TikTok for yourself and also growing a platform on that. What has it been like growing your own personal brand versus working in a group environment to build a team brand? What is that like, and how is that different, and what is that kind of experience for you?
I would say it sucks so much more. It's so much suckier. I've liked it, but it's been weird because I never intended to like have a big following. And like, truth be told, 76,000 followers on TikTok is super cool, but it's really hard to translate that into meaningful growth elsewhere. So I don't value it crazy highly. But what I will say is that it's been really neat where maybe I'm insane. I've asked other people if they do this. Maybe I'm just a psychopath, but like going throughout the day, there's often times where I'll have an idea of like, oh, this would be funny. And I'll just think of like some dumb situation, like almost like my brain comes up with Family Guy cutaways just randomly about random shit for no reason. And that's what I started doing TikToks on, basically, where like I posted one where I was like, you know, at what point did like chicken companies decide to start just mashing them into nuggets and breading them? Like I want to be inside that meeting. Just weird thoughts like that. I don't know why I have them or where they come from, but that's just where it started. It's just these weird shit things that would, it's basically just shit posts in my head that I translated into TikToks. Um, and I'm really grateful for it because at the end of the day, like it has really allowed me to have I think a more meaningful presence on Twitch. And that was really my goal, is to kind of help funnel to my Twitch. And it's been tough as of late because TikTok's a lovely platform, but if you're not posting multiple times a day, the algorithm is just like, okay, you're not as active. Peace. I'm a college student with a job. I can't keep up with it like that. So I've just
Mm.
accepted the reality of it. But it allowed me kind of to jump over that really shitty, like 0 to 4 viewer phase of Twitch streaming, which is always the hardest to get out of. That's like the worst part of starting streaming on Twitch. So, I mean, even if I started with like 5 or 6, like I was fortunate that I never had to do the thing where I streamed for 3 hours to like 0 people. And I was like, well, fuck, that sucked. So it allowed me to bunny hop that. And streaming has kind of become this thing for me where it's this awesome mix and hodgepodge of people who liked my TikTok content. It's a lot of SSG fans who've gotten to know me from that Discord and have become real friends of mine. And it's just a really great group of folks who, my kind of whole thing is just always having good vibes. Like it's a very cliche saying, but like whenever I stream, like I just try to have some like good music on, like keep a positive attitude and just have fun and talk to people about their life or about games or whatever. And I know this sounds very generic, like yeah, that's what a fucking streamer does, but I feel like there's a lot of streamers out there who, and this is not a knock on anyone, they're really good at sitting there with like the face cam and the gameplay and just like not talk for like 2 hours. Always like always one hit. It's like, yeah, I'm pushing, like they don't read chat. They're just locked in, which is fine, but I kind of took this weird note from my TikTok where I would like zoom in a bunch to emphasize certain words because I don't know, I just started doing it. And then I brought that to Twitch where I now have this stream deck with like all
Mm.
these different scenes that are just progressively closer and closer face zooms because I'm a psychopath. So as I stream, like while I'm playing, one thing people love is it almost feels like a live edited YouTube video. Like if
Mm.
something happens, I'll be like, oh shit, and I'll zoom in on each of those words, like, oh shit. And it's like it adds another level of production to it that I think is really cool. And it's super low effort. I didn't have to pay some crazy motion designer for this insane thing. I literally just cropped my fucking webcam and zoomed it in. But it just adds a little bit of spice to it and people have fun. I have a stupid, I have a whole soundboard. It's
Mm.
just memey and fun. But for me, I think building a community on my own, I like it a lot less than doing what I do at SSG because I feel so much more personally responsible and invested for everything. If I have a bad month on Twitch, like I feel really shitty about that. I shouldn't. It's just human nature. You're like, ah, shit, I want to do
Yeah.
better. Whereas in work, it's like you're less personally tied to it, I feel like. And it's like, okay, we didn't hit this goal. Let's do X, Y, and Z and try to fix this goal. I don't know
Mm.
why, but it's easier to be objective when you're not personally tied to it. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So for me, I'm really good at getting all up in my head as someone who builds a brand for a job that I feel like I'm not doing it well enough for myself. And I have to not compare myself like that as much. Like it's this weird internal battle of like, the game plan of how to build a brand and get viewers and all this shit. Like that's literally like what my job is. And I have to remind myself that just because I do it as a job and I like to think that I'm good at it, it doesn't mean I have to be super good at it and on top of it and build this crazy brand for myself. I don't need to put that pressure on myself. And I think that's been my biggest challenge is letting myself almost step back a bit and not feel all of that pressure. Because if I'm being honest, like content creation is not a career for me. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I'm doing esports till I can take off as a streamer. I would never want my bills to be tied to my content. That scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been weird. The biggest challenge and hang up with content creation is convincing myself to care less, which is something not a lot of people say, but I feel like it's an
Interesting.
important thing. Like, remove the emotionality from it, remove the guilt, remove the like, oh shit, I did this poorly, whatever, and just do it and try to do it well. And that's all anyone can ask of you. And I feel like generally, if you're doing that as a creator, people will be happy. And that's kind
Mm.
of the mentality I've tried to keep is like, people show up because they enjoy my streams. I'm lucky as someone who doesn't take it super seriously to have like 14 viewers for a few hours. That's fucking awesome. So it's kind of flipping the script of like, yeah, maybe I had 15 or 16 viewers last month, but maybe this month I don't. But it doesn't mean I'm a shitty streamer. It doesn't mean that, oh, I need to post more. I need to do this. Like you could, but you don't have to. You can just enjoy it. And I know this is a really weird take on building a community as a
No.
creator, but as someone who is almost trying to keep it fun and light and not push it into the stressful job type feeling, I have to constantly rein in my feelings a bit and just remind myself to do it because I enjoy it, and remind myself that other people enjoy what I do. So stop worrying about it. Just keep doing it and try to get better over time, and you'll be fine.
Dude, you couldn't have said it better. Honestly, I feel like so many individuals are always so worried about their own personal brand, how what their resume looks
Mm-hmm.
like, what their LinkedIn looks like. Are they posting enough about like, gaming, esports, and all this
Yeah.
stuff on
Yeah.
Twitter? Always worried about how many likes their post gets compared to, oh, this person that works at 100 Thieves, and how many likes they get and stuff like
Seriously.
that. It's a lot of self and like thrown imposter syndrome, because there's plenty
Yeah.
of people within the esports and gaming community that do incredible work, and then they like get super upset because they're like, oh, I made a post update how I did
Mm-hmm.
something, and then it got like no traction, engagement. It's like, who cares? As
Yeah.
long as you're fulfilled, as long as you're doing a good job, your peers know around you that you're doing a good job, that's all that matters. And it sucks because a lot of those individuals deserve all the praise, all the success, but
100%.
sometimes you just don't have that clout, which is fine.
Yeah.
The clout is a very short term thing, because at the end of the day, people will talk about the experience that they've had working with you, and that will shape people's impressions of you in the long run.
Yeah.
It's gotten me really far in life, and I'm sure it's gotten you really far as
Yeah.
well. And that's the big thing. But also, like, I really liked what you touched about making your own content, and like just sometimes that's where the best ideas come from. Is like on a whim. I remember we had a client idea that I was running just outside for during COVID, because you couldn't be indoors, and
Mm-hmm.
I just had an idea, and I'm like, what if we did it like this? Boom. And then actually I can talk about it because it's in the past. But COD, we were trying to figure out how do we make a cool versus graphic, and I was like, what if
Mm-hmm.
we animate the backside of the versus graphic in the team colors just slightly, just to give it a little bit more of a pizzazz? And then CDL turned around, they're like, we love it. Let's do it for
That's
everything
awesome.
moving forward. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
sweet. Like, just out of the
And,
blue,
yeah.
random, on a Saturday at like 2.
No, totally. I
So,
love that.
you know.
And you kind of remind, this is a weird thing, but I've almost started viewing life more like a video game in a weird way. And it sounds bizarre, but what you said is exactly what I'm talking about, where you just had this idea. And like, to me, that's like a little side quest thing you notice. You're like, fuck it, what's over here? What's that do? So you just try it out, you propose it, and you go for it. And like,
Mm,
the same thing goes for stuff like content creation, right? Like, if you're playing a Souls, like, if you get your ass kicked by a boss, like, your butt hurt, but then you get the fuck up and you try again. You go back. You don't you don't sit your character down and get drunk and cry about it and then try again. No, you get up, you go kick the boss's ass. So like, in life, if you get your ass kicked, like, sure, be upset, feel those feelings, but then get back up and then go beat that challenge's ass. Try
yeah.
and try and try again until you get there. And sometimes maybe it's not the way you thought. Like, explore the side content. I never thought community manager was a role I'd take, but I love it. And I was like, screw it. Where does this weird thread lead? What's going to happen if I do this?
Mm,
Like, take the worry and the what ifs and the, oh, this could happen out of situations. I mean, it could obviously be cautious, think things through,
yeah.
but just go down different roads for the hell of it to see what happens. Don't make poor decisions, but be open to new and odd experiences that might not seem like where you were originally intending to go, because they could end up being really awesome and really important. Like, gaming, I didn't think would be a career for me, but I just kept following the thread. You know what I mean? I kept going down the weird side quests.
Yeah, my my senior year high school counselor, when they ask you what do you want to do, and like what
Hmm.
university and all this stuff, I said, well, I really like competitive gaming and I want to work in it, but I don't really know what I want to do. And she told me, she like sat me down and she's like, hey, let's think about something a little bit more realistic. She said
Mm,
that to me, and ever
mhm.
since then, I have no hard feelings against her. I know
Oh, of
she was
course.
just
Yeah.
setting any
Makes
like high
sense.
schoolers' expectations, but I've never been more motivated by a single set of words from an individual that said, "Think like they're gonna tell me
Yeah.
how to think." And it's not everyone is as driven. Not everyone is as fortunate to be. I'll say I've had some very lucky situations. Some things have just lined
Totally.
up perfectly. I said the email at a right time. I met the right person.
Hmm.
But sometimes you just gotta go, you know. And I like how you said that. Like, life is about the choices you make, and you can choose
Yeah.
what you want to do. If you want to pursue video editing for a creator, you can do that. If you want to pursue community management and marketing for an esports organization, you can do that. But be ready to fail, be ready to make
Yeah.
mistakes
Yeah.
and learn from it. And you know, you can just say, okay, you know what, I'm done, I don't want to do it, and I'll step away. Or you can say, no, I messed up. I didn't get it right. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to keep pushing. And that's where you experience growth. And so many people are so worried. Like, they're like, man, I'm messing up. I'm failing. I'm not doing good enough. And like, that's fine. That's learning. You learn through
Exactly.
failure. You learn,
Yeah.
you master through failure. I can't tell you how many times I have tweeted something and it's got a spelling mistake, a grammar mistake, or
Oh
it
yeah.
got, the worst is I've tagged wrong teams because apparently
Oof.
the Florida Mayhem do not own the handle Florida Mayhem. There's this FL Flight
Right.
Mayhem.
Yeah. Because
Anyway,
why would they have that?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I was one of
It
those things where
happens.
I was like quadruple checking season 1 of Overwatch League when we were running the account, and I'm like, copy, fantastic, emoji placement, fantastic, graphic, everything on the graphic, good. And I hit send. 30 seconds later, I just see everyone
Mhm.
tagging, this is the wrong floor. I'm like,
Fuck.
no! So, all that stuff. So, my last thing, I love that you talk about like, your life experience and content and how that plays a role in it. What's next for you, Brendan? What's coming up? What are you really looking forward in the next few months to a year?
Well, I mean, for me right now, my big focus is getting my master's in
Mhm.
business administration, which will hopefully kind of prepare me for the long term, which is I want to run the ship one day. I want to be the captain, right? I don't necessarily want to be a CEO. I'm not a venture capitalist like startup type guy, but I would love to run a brand that I was very passionate about. At its core, that's a goal of mine. I don't necessarily want to set my sights on like a certain job title. I feel like that sets you up for disappointment and confusion a lot of the time. So like for me, I think my goal is to just be at the helm of a brand I love and kind of help run the voice and the personality of it. And it's a weird general goal, but that's the best way I can describe it. And I'd love to keep doing that in esports, whether it's starting something of my own. But, for now, I'm with Space Station for the long haul, at least the next 2 years is kind of the plan. I have no plans on leaving at the very least. They treat me incredibly well. I work for a company that really values its people, and it's just a fun esports team to work for. It's a wonderful place. So as of now, get my grad degree, work for them, keep streaming for fun. And I think overall one day I'd really like to kind of help improve the industry as a whole. One thing that I think I've been uniquely privy to is the trickiness of building that bridge between going to college and getting a career in esports.
Mm-hmm.
The space between that is really undefined and really tricky for a lot of people. The question of, how do you get a job in esports is one that I've heard a million times over.
Yeah.
And I think a unique challenge that people in this industry like us who work in it and understand it that we have is to kind of help maybe try and solve that issue and give people a better understanding or a better path from education to career in esports. And I think that starts with just enabling people or encouraging people to go to school. Like, stop telling people that you can't get a job in esports if you go to college or that degrees don't matter. Like, getting a strategic communications degree was huge for me to be able to do the job I do. Getting a marketing degree would be really important if you want to
Yeah.
go work at a league and work in there. Like, there is room for all that stuff. And I think there's a lot of people in the space who make people feel like there isn't. Like, you either finish high school and try to make it work and start an org, or you go to college and then try to be an intern somewhere, basically. But I feel like there's a lot more middle ground where a lot of
Mm-hmm.
colleges have esports programs. Like, I got a lot of connections and experience through the University of Utah esports, where I helped direct broadcasts with all the collegiate Overwatch games and stuff like that. I hated it. I hate live production. Don't ever let me do it again. But I think encouraging people to take more of those risks, get
Mm-hmm.
involved with your collegiate esports communities. If not, go find one that you can do. I think there's a lot more growth to be done there in helping people find their way in the industry and find a way to get a job. Because right now it's like you either just get scrappy and figure it out yourself, or you just apply to job applications pretty much. And that's kind of the options at the moment. A good example of someone trying to solve that, I think Eunice Chen. I don't know if you know her.
Yes,
Um,
I love Eunice. She was one of
yeah,
the
no,
individuals
she's
we worked
wonderful.
with before. She's
Her
her whole Enlighten program, I think, is
That's what I was going to talk about.
is Sorry, I didn't mean to
No, you're good.
take
You're
that
on the
from,
right track.
but I was very disappointed with the esports certification thing because
Yeah,
when I
agreed.
first heard it, I was like, this is actually kind of cool. But then I found out about a lot of the other things. I was really disappointed with the content within it. I thought it was very
Mm,
linear. I thought it was very one dimensional, and it did not even the marketing stuff was not relatable at all to any of the stuff
no.
that were I worked at when I was at Denial, when I was at Infinite with the Outlaws and Optic Gaming, what I do now. It was just
Hmm.
super like a
The
lot of
question did
mathy.
make sense to me.
Yeah. So I saw what they were trying to do, and I guess it's a whole another conversation and discussion.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think it was just missed the mark incredibly, and I think that their communication of their ideas was extremely poor. But
Yeah.
I really like what Eunice does with her coaching and her
Hmm.
capabilities, and how that enables individuals that are trying to pursue a higher level of education, try to get connected. Enlighten GG, shameless plug for Eunice, is a
A good plug.
fantastic route to go. So like, I
Yeah.
heavily advise if someone's going to be like, hey, I want to spend some money, I have the luxury to do so. I want to continue
Hmm.
getting in esports, continue my just professional career education. Enlighten GG, hands down the best $35 you'll spend a month,
Yeah.
and it's like, if you're not happy, you can always stop. It's like a gym membership. Like,
Exactly.
you can choose to use it. It's up to you how
You
you
don't have to
utilize.
stick with it. Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be in her like alpha group where
Oh,
I
right
got to
on.
actually test out and come to some of the talks and stuff like that. And I love it because she's kind of taken what would be like almost like, master class, like that kind of model, and brought it to esports. And I think it solves a good issue where, as someone who kind of figured it out for myself and got to know people, like there's always those folks you want to have a conversation with. You want to learn something from them. People like Rishi Chada from Twitter Gaming, or whoever else running orgs. Andy Miller from NRG, you name it. Being able to learn from those people is so hard because you can't just pull up in their Twitter DMs, be
Yeah.
like, "Hey man, want to tell me what's up with you?" Um, I
Yeah.
did ironically kind of do that with Andy Miller and had a great conversation. He's a wonderful guy.
Really?
Yeah,
That's so sick.
as as I was getting ready for grad school, the guy who was one of my recommending people, he gave me a weird challenge and he said, "I want you to go and try to have conversations with all these people that you might normally think you couldn't have a chance to talk to them with. Like hit them up, DM them, take the shot. Worst they can say is no, right?" And I was like, "That makes sense. Fair
Yeah.
enough." And it was a wonderful idea. I got to talk to Andy from NRG. I talked to Brett Lautenbach, who I think is the VP there. I got to
Mm.
talk to all kinds of people. Eunice was one of the folks that I talked to. I talked to the head of content at G2. Just a lot of really remarkable people in the space, simply because I took the time to DM them, not in a weird way, be like, "Hey, I have a
Yes.
question." No, I sent them one concise message and I explained, "Hey, I'm an undergrad. I work with Space Station right now. Like, here's where I'm at. If you have 15 to 20 minutes, I would love to just ask you a few questions about your journey in esports." And if you're authentic with people like that, normally they're super cool about it. At least if you have like a well-crafted message, like don't be weird, don't write a wall of text, keep it concise, and just be very direct. And normally people, if you have a good way of going about it, they're down to talk to you because you're genuine. You're just saying like, is there any chance you'd like share your journey a bit with me? And I think to some degree, a lot of people like talking about their journey, not in a narcissistic way, but just because we're humans. We're wired to care about each other and be kind deep down.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I got on this whole tangent, but that goes
No,
back to like
dude,
bridging the gap. Like hit
that's
people up.
great.
Try to hit those DMs and just be authentic with people is really good. So that's a challenge I'd like to work on. But yeah, that's why I was going to mention it light, is it really gives you the opportunity to have those conversations if you don't feel comfortable sliding into the DMs, or maybe you don't think that they would hit you back because you just have like a 10 follower Twitter. That's normal. They probably won't respond. That's just how Twitter is. So, and something light and light is a great example where it lets you get in a Zoom call, ask a couple questions, and learn a bit about them, and they give you real meaningful knowledge that you can take with you. I think the biggest piece of feedback I gave her about the program was I love that they talked about specific instances in their jobs and how they handled those things, because it's easy to preach for 8 hours about how to get a job and how to network, but the real nitty gritty, the real value is like, okay, here's the story of when I had something go terribly fucking wrong and here's how I fixed it. It's like, that's so valuable. Like, that is worth the money that that service charges 100% every time, in my opinion. Not to make this like a crazy plug for her service, but
No, it's
it's a
just
good
a great
example of what
tool.
I'm
It's
talking
it's a
about.
great
Yeah,
thing that a lot of people just don't know, and I will
very
hands down advise people to use it. And it's not sellout. It's like if it's genuine, right, and
yeah,
it
no,
works, why not recommend it to people? You know?
exactly. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Is I want to accomplish some of my goals. I think get a bit higher up in the industry, whether it's just helping build out Space Station and continuing with that family, or who knows what else is going to happen in 3 to 5 years. And then once I'm kind of set or doing a bit better, 5, 6 years deep, I would love to start tackling some of those issues and helping the industry as a whole. I think there's a lot of growth that we have as an industry, whether it's addressing burnout, whether it's addressing league org relationships and how messy they can be. There's so much that
Yeah.
needs to be talked about and sorted out. So I think we need people who care about those issues, and who want to help figure stuff like that out. Because we don't have to, I mean, I could easily not give a shit about that stuff and go on with my life. But I would love to help make the esports industry a better place for the kids like me who follow and want to figure it out in college and work their butts off.
I love it. I, I love it. That's always super great to hear because there's so many. It's good to be always selfless and be a bigger person. I think a lot of people, no matter just what you do in life, it's always a great route to take. Whether your career,
Yeah.
community, local community, larger community, country, whatever. Not that's a great way to say. All right, Brendan. Last thing that I want,
Yeah.
and I always have people ask this. It's so that you can clip this out in 5 to 6 years and then be like, see, I told you, like the Gary V kind of like clip is what is your bold prediction for the next few years in esports and gaming, if you
Ooh.
have one. It can be a hot take and it can be a cold take and can kind of be like just
I don't
a
know if it's real spicy, but I don't know if a lot of people agree.
sure.
I think we will start to see a power shift in the ranking of esports leagues and the value placed on them. Right now, it's very like LCS, Overwatch League, CDL. That's tier one, period. You know what I mean? Valorant's working its way up. What I foresee happening is games like Rainbow Six, game like Rocket League that are considered more tier two start to kind of take over. I mean, you look at Rocket League, you have all the orgs in there. NRG, Rogue, G2, all the big boys. I think we're going to see more games like that pop up where tier two is going to kind of start to blend more with tier one. Because if you look at Rocket League, the fee of entry is owning a team. You're not paying $20 million for a franchise spot, but the viewership is blowing some of these paid franchise leagues out of the water by like we're talking hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
viewers. I think we're going to start seeing that ripple effect more, where you see these kind of tier two-ish games start to bring more value and lift up some more of these lower orgs that need more of an opportunity to compete at a higher level because they can't afford the fucking giant franchise fees.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to start to see that power shift where these traditional tier ones won't necessarily be the hot shit anymore. They'll still be great. I don't think LCS is going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think it'll become more diverse as more games grow and rise up. I think we'll just have a bigger collection of esports that sit on a similar level without this weird tier one, tier two distinction. Because, Rocket League's tier two, so to speak, but the viewership is there, the orgs are there, the org support is there, the in-game skins are there. Like, what the hell is really differentiating that from a league that you paid $30 million to get into and you don't even get close to the same viewership? This isn't a knock on Blizzard or any of them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
I think we'll see that value, the perspective of how that value is decided shift a bit. And I think these quote unquote tier two games will start to kind of float up to the surface and it'll become a more diverse roster of what really is considered tier one or top tier esports. I don't think it's that spicy of a take, but that's where I think it's going.
I love
Because
it. It's bold. It's bold. No,
yeah,
and
well, you look at an org like Space Station, who's grown off of Rocket League and Rainbow Six. We haven't been in any of these quote unquote
nope.
tier one games, but we're doing very well, and we're all self funded. You know what I mean? Like we're out here just doing our thing.
Yeah, dude, I will always praise organizations that choose to go the long haul investment route. I know Unit has
Yeah,
been preaching Siege since like very early on, as
forever.
well. You guys had a pretty lengthy investment in PUBG too,
Yeah,
as well as then Rocket League. And as someone that went to the Season 3 World Championship for Rocket League, I've seen that community just grow, and
huge.
it's it's got nothing but you know, it's going up, and I'm excited to see it because I feel like stuff like that pushes like these franchise leagues. It's like a system. It's like the franchise leagues push the tier 2 and tier 3 you know, organizations, tournament organizers like ESL and like Blast Pro Series that run Dota and Counter-Strike events to increase their production, increase their investment, which then forces guys like Psyonix or people at Epic to also do that, which then includes more more companies getting involved, more brands getting involved, more viewership, more opportunities,
100%.
and the whole ecosystem gets bolstered. So and I love your take that I think like those games are going to rise up eventually, and I love it. At the end of the day, I want to see growth. I want to see more people passionate, see it as a viable way of entertainment, and guys like Bill Mark can just suck my ass. Okay,
Seriously. Dude, the games that are gonna win are the ones that have an international presence, and I think that's why Rocket League has done so well. And like, I hate to bring up CDL again as a bad example, but COD as a game, as a franchise alone, is basically American war propaganda. For being honest, like they're fun games, love them, but that's basically what it is. And that's why I think we're seeing that tier 1 league not grow so much, is because the fan base is like North America, a little bit of Europe, and that's it. Rocket League is massive in Europe. It's big in South America. It's big in North America. Rainbow Six is the same. There's some insane fucking Japanese teams for Rainbow Six. Like the APAC region is nutty. And despite, you know, the league having trouble with COVID, like that's why you see it growing. It's because it has that international presence. And I think games that can unite people internationally are the ones that are going to start to take over. Like that's why Rocket League is doing so well.
Yeah.
Anyway, last point about
no,
that.
it's all good. I think the great thing about esports is its ability to break geographical barriers.
Totally.
It's something that is so unique, and such an incredible advantage, as well as that camaraderie that happens for regions. It's not the same,
Seriously.
I'd say, in some capacities. So it's also very a unique opportunity for a lot of orgs to be invested within specific regions. But that's a whole nother topic to tackle. Anyways, how can people get connected with you, man? What's the best way to get in touch and all that stuff? I'll have all your stuff on screen in the final cut of it, and then also all your links down below. Make sure you guys check out Brandon and all his content, especially his TikToks.
Sweet, yeah.
They're funny.
I think it's just at Valorize on like every platform: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch. Yeah, it's all of them. It's just
perfect.
That's it. Valorize.
All right, you heard the man. That's how you can get in touch with him. Like he said,
Sweet.
Take the shot, message him. Don't send him a paragraph, a wall of text. Send him a paragraph, and you know I'm sure he'll be happy to answer any questions.
Hell yeah.
All right, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.
Thanks for having me.
At 800 miles an hour, and to my knowledge, there isn't anything that would go that fast.